Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's Graphic Arts Alliance webinar. We're really pleased to be here
There's
with
no
our
way I can't
longtime
get this to go
partner,
through my
Billerud.
headphones.
And Billerud has been with Graphic Arts Alliance for almost practically since the beginning in its different form. We're really pleased here to have Peter Ross and George Bennington with Billerud. They are going to talk a little bit about some of the trends coming up in the paper market and give you some insights into some of their paper products as well. As many of you know, we do have a really great program with Billerud that includes some rebates on some of their paper grades, on most of their paper grades, in fact. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Peter. And if everyone could just keep your microphones muted, we will leave plenty of time at the end for Q&A. Peter, it's all you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Wendy, very much. So what we wanted to do today was just cover a couple of broad topics, sort of an update on our company. There's a lot going on with our company and a lot of good things as well. Just give you kind of a sense of what we're seeing so far this year in 2024. It's hard to believe it's halfway over already, but that's just the years are flying by. So we'll touch on that, some product highlights. I covered the first slide, George. It's all you now.
All right. Well, just the Billerud at a glance. Just meeting topics, a little bit of overview on ourselves, the coated paper market, some product highlights, and obviously postage. Well, just Billerud at a glance. Company about 3.8 billion in sales. We are publicly listed on the Swedish Stock Exchange. About 8% EBITDA, about 6,100 employees, 10 manufacturing units, both mills and converting centers. 44% of what sales are paper, 45% board, and 11% pulp. So that gives you kind of a high-level overview. We go to the next slide, Billerud 2023 net sales by breakdown. Europe is about 66%, North America 28%, and other, be like Asia, is 6%. And then you see the product breakdown by sales by product category. The important point to emphasize here is graphic papers, 22%, is a huge part of our business. And as Peter will discuss in a little bit, even though we changed plans on Escanaba, we are very much committed to growing our board business, but especially growing our graphic paper business on that front. In terms of our North American facilities, Escanaba and Quinnesec produce combined over 1 million tons a year of coated free sheet product. And then we also have a state-of-the-art converting center in Wisconsin Rapids, 320,000 tons. I'm sure many of you on this call have visited these facilities at one point or another, and certainly hope that you will do so again. In terms of market segments, product segments, graphic papers, label papers, packaging papers, and market pulp. Obviously, the big focus today will be on the graphic papers and what we see going on in that world, both in market trends as well as the postal rate increases. So with that said, Peter?
So just a couple of comments on Billerud, because a lot has happened this year and has been happening. The Verso Corporation, which was acquired by Billerud now about 3 years ago, roughly. I'm losing track of time. But when we were acquired by Billerud from Sweden, the intent was to transition one of our mills, into carton board. And we went through and did some pretty extensive plans on that. And as time went by, and you all know what's happened with inflation and other economic uncertainty, I'll leave it at that. We basically decided not to do the transition of that mill into carton board. That mill is going to continue its existing operations. And we looked at really two ways. The first one was about $1 billion investment. And then with inflation, that got to be real expensive. Then we scaled that back, and then we had sort of a transition, which would be less expensive, but still accomplish the same goal. And that got to be way, way expensive as well. So really looking at just the economic conditions we were in and the cost involved, we decided at this point that it was really better to put the project on hold. And the fact that we have 6 mills in in Europe when we produce a whole lot of board and other products there. And we had already built a really robust supply chain for North America that we could continue with the strategy. And the Billerud strategy was to get more share and grow the North American market in carton board. And we can do it with the existing assets in Europe. So that's what we're going to do, strategically grow the sustainable packaging business in North America at our existing with our existing assets. And I think we have a unique situation here where we have a pretty good supply chain and a good market expertise and good market engagement, really. So the growth of that product, really, we have the foundation to make that successful. We're doing that through a variety of channels and brand owners, converters, and obviously independent distributors. So this will focus and turn our attention back to the graphic papers. So if you could just focus on the first two columns there, the graphic papers, and really putting this slide in here is just a reminder of our brands. Our brands have been around for a long time and they're well known. And just to level set, we still manufacture and stock a sheet portfolio, a vast sheet portfolio, Sterling Premium, Anthem Plus, Productolith Points, Sterling Ultra C1S, some of the grades you've heard about. Notes in the folio side, and in the digital side, Sterling Premium Digital, Blazer, which is the counterpart to Anthem's, the digital version of Anthem. We have Productolith Points Digital, and TrueJet Book, a web grade that we continue to produce. And then what Christy, if she's on, we'll talk about is really the inkjet web market, where we've also done some unique things. And I'll save that for later in the presentation. And also on the website, obviously, Sterling Ultra Web, a great name in the market for many years, Influence, and Liberty. And we also have some book grades we manufacture in Escanaba, New Era Matte. So again, it's a vast portfolio. With the change in our direction with the Escanaba mill, we continue to invest in those assets to support graphic papers. Just to give you an example of that, within the last 2 years, we put about 50 million into Quidisec, about another 20 or so into Escanaba. And again, it is because even though we have this objective of growing the market in carton board, we still, and the Billerud corporate folks still want to promote and support the graphic papers business because we think it's a good business. So that's great news. Quickly on the coated paper market, this is a lot of RISI or PPPC information, so maybe you've seen it. But essentially, you can see on the left side of the chart there in 2022, the operating rates for North America on coated free sheet, or coated paper, I should say, because it's coated free sheet and coated groundwood. You can see coming off November, December of 22, high operating rates. We all remember what 2022 was like with the destocking that occurred last year. Obviously, operating rates were lower. This year, we've started off with a slow improvement, but improvement just the same, and operating rates we'll get into in just a minute here on what the future holds. So moving right on to that, two really of this four blocker, I would point out to the upper quadrant there with demand. We see demand improving year over year from a down 2023, probably about 10% or so. I think we've been slower in the first half than maybe we expected, but we still see that as pretty close to what should happen by the end of the year. Next year, a little tailing off and then kind of flat after that. Shipments sort of represent the same path as we talked about in demand. And then you can see the operating rates that we discussed before. This is just sort of a compact look at from 2018 through the estimate in 2026, where we think that's going. And as you can see from last year to this year, some improvement, as I described, next year a little bit better. and after that, kind of the same thing. And then, well, what's really driving this, obviously we're in a declining demand environment, but what's driving it in many cases is just the fact that we see other changes in supply going forward. So we roll all that up. What's going to happen with the price, whether you look at premium sheets, economy sheets, or the number 3 web? We kind of, if you look at this, is again a RISI source, and that's sort of where we base a lot of our assumptions on. You see it kind of flat going through the next year or so. What we've found in one of the trends we're seeing, and one of the things that we've been working on is really the growth. Really, it's happened since the pandemic, where we've seen the growth of inkjet, specifically in web. We see a lot of, for a number of reasons, a lot of printers, sheet-fed printers, taking equipment and repurposing or reinvesting, I should say, in inkjet web equipment. This obviously gives a lot of advantages over standard offset or standard sheet-fed offset printing. None the least of which there's advantages in variability, print variability. You could also see advantages in labor costs, and really just with the technology, folks taking advantage of this technology in the marketplace. So here's just some introductory slides, and then I'll get into where we are. Let me skip over this, what we are doing to address it. Billerud came up with what's called an EX program, excellent service, excellent turnaround, excellent product to fit the inkjet web market specifically. We started out this program about a year ago with Sterling Ultra EX, and these are rolls that we stock in 18 and 20 inch sizes. And we have them available for quick turn, which we think fits that market very well. We then expanded that program to have what we call Sterling Points EX, 810-12 point with soft gloss finish. And again, more inkjet options for different applications. And with the success we saw in Sterling, we thought that would be a natural expansion of the grade line. And again, 18 and 20 inch rolls primarily, and having that ready for quick turn, which really fits that market well. And recently, within the last month, we've now introduced Influence EX. And so that's going to be the same 18, 20 inch wide rolls, stocked, available in gloss and matte finish, and 50 and 60 pound techs. So we're really excited about it. We see as these new installs occur that our product just fits a niche and kind of takes from a supply chain what might be a longer lead time due to manufacturing, having that available and easy to deliver has been just getting a lot of momentum and a lot of interest with our printer customers. Some of the promotions we've got on it, which are available, and certainly we can, those of you that are dealing with local distributors have this available, and we will certainly, if there's any issues with getting any of this information, we're happy to provide it. And then kind of things we talked about. And the last slide here is the compatibility specifically by equipment and the grade we have and what the best fit is. So this sheet here really is a great source or resource for the products that we have, and making sure that it's an appropriate fit and having the best solution for what your project need is. So on that, I'm going to transition it over to George. You want to hit the postal rates?
Sure. Thanks, Peter. Well, the postal rates obviously have been a huge part of our business in the last 10 or so years, as the rates continue to go up and up and up, and the post office continues to lose more and more money. And I know that there is a major effort, a lobbying effort underway to obviously try to curtail some of these increases and do some promotions. But the slide here gives you a good snapshot of all the increases that have taken place in the last, 5 to 6 years. And obviously they've been quite excessive, and particularly with the marketing mail, that's what I look at on average. The next slide, which gives you the promotions calendar 2024. You can find a lot of this on the USPS website. I scour that about once a month, and there are certain key dates. If it's dropped before such and such a date, there's potentially some considerable discounts that can be taken advantage of. And I know that a lot of our large direct marketing mailers scour this website and will oftentimes put together programs at the very last moment to try to take advantage of this. There's obviously, again, this is a big part of our cost now, and we obviously want to see everything and anything that can be done to try to mitigate this cost in lieu of all the other inflationary pressures that we're under. So, are there any questions? From anybody?
So I get, great. This is really good overview. I'm curious, you were showing a lot on the, kind of the digital products that you're carrying there. What do you foresee in terms of production? Do you see any kind of shift with Billerud or just in the industry toward production of more digital friendly, digital specific paper grades? Away from more of the traditional offset, or what are you envisioning given the trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, so
Yes.
what we're trying to do, it's an evolution, of course, right? And we already have a pretty good, robust sheet fed line already that we support, and we see actually pretty good growth in the Blazer and Sterling Premium Digital and the Productive Points Digital. So that's already occurring. Those are different sheets too. They're not just sheets that they're not just dual purpose sheets. We specially formulate our digital products so that they work and are appropriate for digital equipment. So we continue to see that trend occurring. On the inkjet web side of things, we see really just robust growth, more than we would have anticipated. We see the investment in the different equipment, Canons, Coat, Xerox, just a number of different manufacturers with options that folks are finding really make sense for their business. So it's going to continue. We're going to continue to support, obviously, the digital sheet fed business, and you'll just see more and more growth in the web side of it as well, I think, going forward.
Right. Good point. I think with the X program, a lot of these projects are very last minute. So that's why we designed this sort of specialized inventory to provide just-in-time service, particularly for LTL quantities. And as everybody knows, a lot of particularly in the website, some of our conventional offset projects can now be used for digital, which is good. And sometimes people ask, well, what's our statement regarding guarantee? And so what I always say, talk to your OEM, talk to your individual rep. I know that if you have like a paper 101 issue, let's say slitter dust, blade streaks, dog ear, or something like that, of course, we'll back it up. If it becomes more of a chemistry photoing, then we need to involve some other folks in that. So, because that's oftentimes a question that we get asked. But again, I think the good news is that a lot of these more conventional products can work on these types of inkjet applications, and they're more accessible and more, I think, cost competitive than they were, let's say, even 10 years ago.
Great. So if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to unmute or put them in the chat. In the meantime, I know when I'm talking to members specifically about paper, some of the questions I get asked are availability, pricing, things like that. From the slide that you were showing that was giving a general pricing index on the the coated free sheet products, Are you seeing that the pricing is just going to continue to inch up over time? Is that kind of where the trend's going, that we're not going to see any kind of softening in the pricing going forward? Or is there any hope of the pricing softening a little bit?
Well, I think this. I think that one of the things that the manufacturers have done is a little differently in this sort of lull in demand over the last couple of years when going through the destocking and of 2023 and coming off 2022, which was such an amazing year for everyone. But one of the things we're doing is we're really curtailing supply to match the demand we see. Right. So we've found that really, even though it's more work and it's more effort on the mill side, keeping our working capital, keeping our inventory at the right levels has really been critical and made a big difference for us, really to maintain our business as an ongoing concern. Right. So in the past, where we've overstocked and overfilled the inventories and the supply chain, we've just sort of taken a different path away from that and just tried to match supply and demand. So I think there's a lot of things that could occur which could change. So you never know the future. But one of the things that we like to tell our clients are that we are local, we are domestic manufacturer, we're domestic local stocked. So we really are able to avoid the supply chain challenges that are out there. And right now, there's a number of supply chain challenges out there from both Europe and Asia. And now moving in more recently, even to things like container availability and costs. So we really feel like we've got a good, unique value proposition that we can offer clients on a long-term basis. But I'm kind of getting off track there into the commercial on Billerud. But from a price standpoint, I just would probably guess if I had to guess, I would say it's going to be more of a stable price environment versus what maybe was happening in the past.
So you're thinking prices might just kind of stabilize after a while. If you had your crystal ball.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is when you get the fact of the matter is we're going through an inflationary environment right now. We haven't had a price increase in the number of years at this point. I think 22 would have been someone 22.
Yep,
So
October
here we are,
22.
Yeah, and we've gone through a period of 9% inflation. Now inflation's coming down, but things still cost a lot more. Inflation rate may be coming down, but things are still a lot more expensive than they were. So we're trying to find ways on the manufacturing side to be more efficient and mitigate that. But eventually the cost issue does creep in to the manufacturing process. So.
Yeah, of course. And do you have any suggestions, all of the paper buyers out here on the call and owners, I mean, any advice and in terms of even your own products when they're sourcing out papers for projects coming up, any kind of lead time that just industry wide that you're seeing in terms of purchases, or you said you're working toward more of a just in time? Is that where you're seeing that there's going to be there's a lot more availability if someone's needing a short-term order, a short run, that they could pick papers up more readily than they could say a year ago, or even a year and a half ago?
Well, so we can offer obviously reduced supply chain because we have most of our paper stocked, and I'll reference the sheet fed. We even have some web stock, and with the EX program, obviously that's all stocked. So the ability to turn paper and deliver in a shorter time period is really a key part of our value proposition. We also have other services, quick turn manufacturing services on custom size rolls. So we have a lot of things which can reduce the supply chain. I would say to you though that that in terms of mitigating costs, because it's a big thing, obviously. Postal increase is not going to help us, but it's a big thing for clients to try to mitigate costs going forward that are undoubtedly going to rise. And I would say, we have a wide variety of options in our product line. Different alternatives, lighter basis weights, maybe going down a grade different. There's a lot of solutions we can potentially offer, and just working with your distributor or ourselves as mill folks in the market We love to have those challenges. We also have Christy didn't quite make it, but we also have a pretty interest. Our marketing department sort of spends all their time on challenges like this, and so we have some pretty cool ideas for clients too that are kind of working through this.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Well, it's wonderful to hear. Like I said, Billerud's been an excellent partner with GAA for many, many years, and it's prior form of Verso as well. So we're really thrilled that you could join us here today and give us a little bit of insight into the industry, and also talk a little bit more about the Billerud products and give our members the opportunity to see what Billerud offers. Billerud does have a very diverse blend of papers available for our members. Most of them do fall under our rebate program. So please do feel free to contact your local merchant. You're welcome to contact me or contact George Bennington, who is our rep at the national account level. If you do have questions about any products or sourcing, if you wanted to get samples, I do believe there are samples opportunities to get sample packs sent over as well to see what those papers look like. So are there any other questions in the chat, or does anyone else have any questions for today? Okay, so thank you again for coming. We're going to get this up on our YouTube channel for a replay. If you have some staff members that you'd like to check this out, please go ahead and send them over here. I do love recommending that we do these webinars with your staff as a lunch and learn as well. It's a great way to get everyone up to date with our vendors and with the programs and with the industry. So Peter, George, thank you so much. Sorry for the tech issues today. It's just one of those things that happens. We must be must be a changing of stars today. So
yeah.
Thank you all again. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.